Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Yes, it does.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in beautiful
downtown Van Nuys, not far from the lovely Victory Boulevard.
Yes.
This is an exciting day to be in CHOBO Studios.
Yes, it is, because we have a very special guest today.
Yes.
But before we get to the guest, you had some amazing things that actually came in over the wire.
Oh, my goodness. We want to thank all the new Patreon people who have signed up to donate to the show, to support the show on a monthly basis, to keep us sitting pretty on this love boat known as CHOBO Studios, to keep the show going. We really appreciate you. Leslie Laird, Maureen Swift, Rhonda Barnes, and Leslie Laird wrote us a nice letter, which was very helpful. She said, "Hey there, sweet friends in the land of fruits and nuts."
That's true. That's what they call California.
Yeah, hope and trust all is well with you both. Just signed up to support you in your new venture through Patreon. You may have mentioned it more than once, but I've only heard Ed share how to spell Patreon when you were talking about it on the podcast. I had never heard of it before and assumed it was Patreon, P-A-T-R-I-O-N. No biggie, which is not true. No biggie in the big picture, but everyone should know the true spelling of Patreon is Patreon.com. Patreon.com/funniest thing. It'll take you right to the page where you can start contributing. She said, "Just thought I would throw it out there to make it easier for folks to find. Blessings your way from south of the Mason-Dixon. Hugs and kisses, Leslie Laird." Well, wow. So thank you, Leslie. We always love any kind of little help like this as we find our way. So not only is Leslie now contributing to the show monthly, she also helped clarify something to make it easier for everyone else. Maureen Swift, who's a new contributor, said, "Dear Darrell and Ed, thank you. You guys are the medicine. Every time I listen to you, I feel better. Words alone cannot express how grateful I am to have found you. Each week, I look forward to listening to your podcast. I was so excited to read Darrell's story in the Daily Word. I'm now a blessing machine and also a golden keyer. Not a word, but I'm sure you know what I mean. I followed Reverend Adams." John Adams was on our show. "Also medicine for my soul. Ed, I am an OT in the Chicago public schools and understand and appreciate the love you have for your students. I feel the same for my peeps. God bless you both. I love you guys."
Now,
we love you too.
Is an OT an occupational therapist?
That is an occupational therapist.
And
yes,
for some listeners who may not know, the golden key is actually
Emmett Fox.
Emmett Fox, a very short little Emmett Fox writing. It was originally published by Unity.
A pamphlet they put out.
Yes. And it simply means wherever you seem to be having a problem at the moment, whether it's in your thinking or about, which is usually about a person, place, or thing.
Right.
Instead of dwelling on the problem, see God there instead.
Right.
Imagine God working there. You're treating the concern and you're trusting that God is going to work this out in a wonderful way. You're practicing the presence of God, and that's what the golden key means.
I actually golden keyed my drive home from picking up Elliot, my son, after his first year of college. Because I don't know if you've ever been on a long drive, but my mind started to feel like it was me against a wall of time that was not moving. How am I going to do this? How am I going to just sit here? My mind goes all all over crazy places. And, I just shifted into the statement that John Adams loved, that Phil Pearson, another great Unity minister, loved, which is just God loves me.
Yes.
And I just shifted my mind, and then instead of me being against time started flowing through my mind. I started to become one with life, and I started thinking about inspiring things. So no longer was I just sitting there waiting for the drive to end. I was taking things in from my surroundings.
Yes.
I was noticing things. I was having inspired ideas. The time, flew along, and I was also very happy when I got home. So that is we're big time golden keyers. I think having people like John Adams on our show to talk about it, and Phil Pearson as well, and others. David McClure
Yeah.
has a strong connection with Emmett Fox.
Yes.
Hearing these people describe it in having used it, practiced it, that's why, again, if you're contributing to the show, you're contributing to us tapping into these wells of wisdom and love and joy that make, that really are the medicine, like Maureen said.
Yeah, you're actually helping other people.
Yeah.
You're actually helping other people receive this message.
What you're really helping them do is climb aboard the Love Boat.
Oh, yes.
Because that's what happened to me. I went from driving a car down the road and thinking, when's this going to end, to, wow, I love this car. All these people around me, they're not just like robots. They're people just like me, and we're all going somewhere. And I started thinking, because we're in like kind of, quote, the middle of nowhere. We're not really. I was thinking, some people, this is their home.
Yes.
They live out here, and they just feel at home here. So many different ideas came to me once I started to climb aboard the Love Boat.
Is there another message, or is that for later?
That's for later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's for the mailbag. In the second segment, we'll have more mail from listeners. So,
well, speaking of climbing aboard the Love Boat.
Yeah, so last thing, maybe I should let everyone know once again, if you want to support the show through Patreon, it's patreon.com/funniest thing. That's patreon.com/funniest thing. And you can jump on board the Love Boat in that way.
Yes, and climbing aboard the Love Boat just happens to be the title of our show.
Yeah, and our guest today is none other than, well, let me just say this, climb aboard the Love Boat with Indiana Fawcett. None other than the founder, the creator, the owner of CHOBO Studios, where we are currently sitting.
Yes.
And we had a whole another guest lined up, but he got a bad cough and he didn't think it was a good day to do the podcast. So I just thought to myself, Indy would be great, because Indy, when we come to CHOBO Studios, this is the Love Boat for us.
Yes, it is.
We can't ever go back to anything like the bar that has been set by God, by life, by bringing us here, where we have this amazing time. We have this amazing man, Indy, who loves what he does, makes our life easier, and we get this amazing YouTube video that you can watch. All these things really have come about from climbing aboard the Love Boat. Instead of going into when Unity Online Radio closed, we didn't panic, even though there's temptations, but we climbed on the Love Boat, and it led us here.
We actually rose up.
Yes, so
instead of sinking. But wait, what is it? Anything less than the best is a felony now.
I know. That's what a wise man named Vanilla Ice, was it?
Yes.
Yes. What's his name? Like Robbie Van Winkle?
No, I don't know his real name.
Indy, do you know Vanilla Ice's real name?
Looking it up right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, climb aboard the Love Boat with Indiana Fawcett. That's today's show. Let go of your grievances and climb aboard the Love Boat. When we choose to withhold love from ourselves and others, we remain anchored to our misery. It is time to set yourself free with forgiveness. It is a dynamic, creative, and practical force that has the power to manifest miracles. On this episode, Darrell and Ed encourage listeners to replace guilt with love and embrace the freedom that comes from leaving the past behind. Inspirational Indiana Fawcett from CHOBO Studios. What does he do? He launches us on the cruise of our lives with today's daily word, which is freedom.
You know what? I think now I understand how the music goes to our three breaths.
You don't understand. We didn't mess it up even before.
His name
know
is,
we were doing it right.
Robert Matthew Van Winkle.
Matthew Van Winkle.
So I guess Bobby, yes, would work.
Went by the pen name Vanilla Ice.
Well, because I was singing. Can I just say how I was singing?
Yeah, let's hear what you said.
Set a course for adventure.
Oh, no, that's
your
not
mind
it at all.
on a new romance.
That won't do it.
Okay, how's it go?
It goes, I set a course for adventure, my mind on a new romance.
Oh, wow.
And love. Yes.
Wait, love.
Dun, dun, dun. I don't have all the lyrics.
Exciting and new.
Yeah, but there's another line there. Yes, but yes, it's
the
exciting and new.
Love Boat.
The main thing is that love makes everything exciting and new.
Yes.
Just like me, I went from, and it's the little things. If we apply these things to the little things, like driving your kid home from college, it actually makes it easier to apply it to the big things, because it's more about a frequency we get on.
Yes.
Because I got news for all of us. We're already on the Love Boat. It's just a matter of, do we recognize it? Do we trust it? Do we relax and enjoy the cruise?
Yes.
Or, You said something earlier about the importance of a morning routine,
Yes, I did.
because otherwise you're strapping on. What'd you say
I
earlier?
said because life isn't about jumping out of bed, strapping on your helmet, and racing into your miserable day.
Yes.
If you don't take the time, first of all, to be kind and loving to yourself,
Right.
you're not going to recognize it anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because just jumping out of bed and racing is already starting with a strong belief in lack.
Yes.
I gotta do this. So I'm setting myself up for disaster first thing in the morning.
Yes.
When you think I gotta go. That's the worst.
Right.
That's the worst approach
Yes.
to starting a day.
Right.
But the way we've been taught,
Right.
it seems like that's the most productive way to start the day, but it's
Right,
not.
right.
It's actually the opposite. We've been saying a lot because we gave a talk at Unity Church this morning.
Yeah, which you can go to our Funniest Thing fan page on
Yes.
Facebook, and you can actually, we posted the Unity of the West Side talk that we gave this morning.
Yes.
And if you're ever in Culver City on the third Sunday, you can come over and check us out and be with us live.
Live in person. But the big thing to remember, today's winning combo of this show, to enjoy remaining on the sun deck of the Love Boat
Yes.
and enjoying the cruise, is A, to realize that trust, not effort, equals results.
Trust, not effort. Think about that. One is relaxing,
Yeah.
focusing, getting into a place of confidence,
Yeah.
trust.
Knowing that God is working everything out for our highest good. And doing the morning routine, we were talking about, Ed and I have been really dialing into this idea, which I shared with Tom Thorpe when he first started doing a morning routine, because everyone's
Right.
reluctant unless you're
Right.
really in over your head.
I was wondering who you're talking. I thought that's who you were talking about earlier. You didn't want to mention his name since he was working the camera at Unity of the West Side, huh?
Yeah, we didn't know what would happen. So, well, here's the thing.
Yes.
Even today, Penny, another
Penny Akashi.
who we know from Unity, she was even saying, my intention to do the morning routine is good, but I keep resisting it. And I told her, I said, well, listen, that's understandable. I said, because I've discovered there's only two ways to really go into it. One is, if you're in over your head, you will do it without resistance.
Right.
Like Ed and I were.
Mm-hmm.
Ed with his free-floating anxiety, and me with my anxiety over the situation I had put myself in at the time,
Right.
made me willing, okay, I want to believe that doing this morning routine,
Right.
even though I'm not quite sure it's going to do anything,
Right.
I want to believe what the guy telling me that it will
Right.
transform
Right.
everything in my life. I want to believe that,
Right.
because I can't keep doing what I'm doing. Right?
That's correct.
And then and here's the thing, folks. If you just do it, even not fully convinced it's going to work,
Yep.
for 30 days, it doesn't matter, because it's going to work. Because what happens is, without trying to force your mind to change and think healthier ideas, just this practice, you're tapping into a power that you're already connected to,
Yes.
that you may not even believe is real
Right.
at the time.
Right.
But by just being willing to do it, you're tapping in.
Yeah.
And your thoughts, your thought life will start transforming.
Yeah.
In spite of whatever it is you're believing at that time, to the
Right.
point to where you get to the point where I can't imagine not doing my morning
That's
routine
right,
now,
that's
because
right.
it feels so good. And the transformation, even if I wake up totally on the wrong side of the bed, believing nothing I do is worth anything, what's the use? Why try? That now my subconscious is working for me, not against me. It knows, Darrell, once we sit down on the couch and do this morning routine, you're going to feel better.
Right.
But the other way, for those who are reluctant, and I brought this up with Penny.
Yeah, I'd love to hear this.
And you and I have been dialing in, consciously taking this other approach
Right.
to getting yourself dialed into a morning routine, is the realization that Or take this idea. When I told Stephen Tomthorpe, he was kind of reluctant, but I said, look, because I knew he wanted to be an actor.
Right.
That was his heart's desire. So I go, look, man, if I told you that doing a morning routine, if I approached it like this, listen, man, I want you to dial. I'm going to give you Steven Spielberg's number, and you're going to dial.
Right.
And you're just going to, he's going to suggest some readings for you to do, and you're just going to listen to them.
Right.
And you're going to know that just by doing that, Steven Spielberg is basically saying, I know exactly what your talents are. I love you, man. You're amazing. Don't worry about a thing. Don't go out of your way. You don't have to lift a finger. You just keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
And just know that I'm already managing all this. I know exactly where to put you. I'm going to set it up.
Right.
You're going to get a phone call from I don't know who, but
Right.
don't worry, I'm working for you. Because that's what happens when we're doing the morning routine.
Right.
And that's why trust, not effort, brings results. So Ed and I last week, we got some, positive suggestions about more social media
Yeah.
and things to promote the show.
Oh yeah, we're talking to Mitchell Busk, our last
Yeah.
the guest who's actually out now on the episode.
Yes. After listening to Mitch Busk, I could start feeling my oh no, I gotta learn social media and all this.
Yeah.
And I had to go, wait a minute. We have to realize who we really are. That's part of tapping into this higher power.
Right.
Is acknowledging, first of all, God knows what we're good at.
Yes.
And he'll take care of the part that we're not good at.
Right.
And he'll take care of it by either giving us an inspired idea that's joyful and fun,
easy for us to
do and act on, as well as putting people in our lives if we
Right.
just stay the course and don't try to grab and pull someone into our life.
Right.
Because this happens all the time. The best stuff that's come in, the best opportunities that we've had with the show, none of them came through trying to make them happen,
Right.
including being here.
That's true.
So with that in mind, we both kind of realized, and we know this about ourselves, and we realized, look, we're not in the publicity and management business
Right.
for Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
Right.
We're in the sharing what we know works
Right.
with people who we want to share with as many people as possible.
And creating the show, putting
Yes.
it together, performing,
Yes.
delivering, getting guests. We do a lot of different things.
We enjoy all of that.
All of that. We love it. Other
So-
people might find that arduous, but we love it.
Yes. But we find the other part, the social media, arduous. So I said, Ed, we just have to throw this on God and believe that we have the best manager and publicist.
Yes.
And it's God. And we're not going to worry about how we're going to take care of that other portion.
Yes.
That same day, later in the day.
And we got really excited, Mike,
Yes, we
when
got
we were
so
talking
excited.
about this. This wasn't a
No.
feeling of defeat. This was a feeling of relief and satisfaction.
And trust that
and
it's going
trust.
to,
Yes.
you're right. God is going to take care of that for us.
Yes.
That same day, it was within an hour, not even.
No, I think it was while we were having
That's
that
right.
talk, we got back to the car.
We got back to the car, and there was a new Patreon.
Rhonda Barnes' name came through.
And there was something that wasn't someone. Oh, and the very next day.
Yeah, we had another conversation related to things. Then we got excited about
because we
similar about the show.
Similar about letting go and knowing God's handling that. We got a letter.
We have it here. We'll read it later from Mary Weir.
And it was basically reassuring us
Yeah.
that the part of the thing that we're good at, it was basically God talking through her saying, guys, please, just keep doing exactly what you're doing, exactly
Yes.
what you're good at.
Yes.
And I'm going to take care of the rest.
Right.
That's what that letter, actually, the metaphor.
And the donation that
Yes.
came with it.
Yeah, it was the metaphor of that letter as well as what she wrote. And then on top of it, a donation for the show.
And this morning, we really had to put trust. I mean, Florence Scovel Shinn says most people think life is a battle. It's not a battle. It's a game of giving and
Yes.
receiving. And part of it is giving up which no longer
Yes.
serves us, letting go of these ideas, of these judgments we hold against ourselves, these things, these limiting ideas. If we don't do this, it's not going to happen. letting go of those things, but it's also of giving. So that leads to us giving more joyously and valuing the things we do have to give. And we had to let go of some ideas with a guest that was going to come on. And I was kind of resistant, like, now we got to solve this. And finally I said, you know what? There's no reason to even stress over this. It's going to work itself out. And then I even sent a silent unity for the talk we gave. I sent a prayer to silent unity for the talk, for this show, for our guest that had the cough, that his health was going to come. I just turned the whole thing over to God. And then this morning,
funniest thing,
we both did, mind you. We just said we're just going to stress-free, trust it's all working out.
Because it does every time. And we end up with the perfect guest at the perfect time, inspired for the show, even when they don't make it.
That's right.
So, but the problem was, the only slight bit of anxiety was telling the guy who was all hopped up to come on the show that maybe it's best if he doesn't come on the show because he has this bad cough.
Because I had this inspired idea that let's just get a new guest and let this guy know. But then the guy that we were thinking of, we had how's he going to take it? So I had to just turn my hand. I'm learning a lot about management of a lot of things through work and life and all the things we're doing. Like, if you're really going to manage things, we really have to turn it over to our inner, like you're saying, Spielberg. Our inner, take God as our business partner. Let God organize
take God
these
as
things.
Our business partner.
Yes. So that's what we did.
So the magic of it all was he actually had a conversation with Steve and Tom Thorpe this morning, because Steve was going to drive him.
Yeah, he was going to pick him up and take him over here.
Take him to CHOBO Studios. And miraculously, well, we could just say his name's Frank. Frank actually tells Steve, I don't think it's a good idea for me to do the podcast. I'll be coughing through the whole thing. So the whole thing was totally remedied.
Yeah. And for me, it was like a matter of letting my hands off the steering wheel. I told my wife, I'm not going to beat up Darrell. Why is he being reluctant? Blah, blah, blah. I said, no, he shouldn't have to stress. No one's going to stress.
God, the business partner, the senior partner handles it every time.
I know.
We let go.
And when I did too, that's where the idea for Indy being the guest today popped into my head.
I got to say one thing. We got some great readings in 3 breaths.
We got a lot of things to do.
We could do 2 of the readings before we go to break. We got time.
Yeah.
But the thing is this, folks, and Ed and I have experienced this many times in our lives.
Right.
Through things that seem overwhelmingly stressful to little things.
Yeah.
And it's this. When I could get to the point where I can be able to, 1, be honest without fear of loss.
Right.
Being able to tell the truth without fear of loss in a situation where I think like the truth might cause me to lose something I already have or not get something I want.
Right.
But when I could release the fear of loss and be willing to be honest.
Right.
Combined with the willingness to take my mental hands off the wheel and abandon myself to God's will in the situation completely, that's when God's law of adjustment comes in. I don't have to make any crazy phone calls. The situation remedies itself.
Yes.
Or not only remedies itself, I end up in a better than expected outcome.
Yeah. Yep. And that, like, everything that resolved for me with work turned into realizing, because what happens, we get afraid of something and the same voice that's afraid starts coming up with a list of how we're going to get out of it.
Yeah, schemes. They're
but
horrible.
The thing is, we got to treat the part of us that is concerned.
Yes.
Don't treat the conditions out there, because that fearful voice is coming up with all these things that, if in my case, I'm going to have to do this different, that different with teaching. And it turns out all I really had to do is let go of all the fears that were coming up and realize I'm doing a great job, and I just got to keep showing up, stop doubting myself, stop doubting that God's going to work it out, and everything works out. You want
to do the breaths?
Yeah.
And then we could do the readings at the top of the second.
Or we could do one reading. Why don't you choose like Williamson or Fox? Let's hear from that.
Don't you want to kick it off? Yeah, kick it off.
Butterworth?
Yeah, we'll kick it off with Butterworth, and then we'll have time for our breaths.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, too, we're going to have Reverend Bill Engelhardt on the show next week. He is a Science of Mind minister. We found him through Science of Mind magazine, and it really comes down to what he said, too, which is, it's not about, when we're stressed, we think we need to do more. But when we do our morning routine and we connect with who we really are, it's not about doing more. It's realizing that we are already more. It's recognizing, because now we have an army of angels with us. We have friends that love us and support us. We just have to recognize that, because you said earlier about lack, when we're fearful and trying to race into our day, it's coming from a place of lack.
Yeah, it's a belief in lack.
And the lack can be, no one's supporting me.
Yes.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I have to push through. The opportunities aren't there. But we have to realize that we are more. We have way more going for us than we think. And Eric Butterworth says, what are you saying to yourself? In the book called Celebrate Yourself, and this book is on our reading list. Go to darrellanded.com. He says, what are you saying to yourself? Each of us lives in a world of his own choosing, a world of consciousness. Many things happen around and to you, but the only things that count for much are the things we say to ourselves about what has happened. He says you cannot get away from yourself no matter where you go. What you think and say determines the life you experience. And I'll tack this on where he says, most of the things that we get down about are actually like little pebbles. Hold a pebble close to your eyes and it fills your whole world. Hold it at a proper viewing distance and it can be examined and properly dealt with. Drop the pebble at your feet and it becomes part of the gravel of the path on which you walk.
And speaking of dropping the pebbles, are you ready for these 3 breaths?
Oh,
These are pebble droppers.
Which one do you want to do? 1, 2, or 3?
Wait.
That last one is nice.
Yeah, let's do the last one. Oh, what do you mean, for reading or?
For the breaths?
Yeah, the breaths. Oh, that one. Yeah. I like that one.
Okay, let's go.
All right,
Take a deep
folks.
breath to clear your mind. Climb aboard. God's expecting you.
We're talking about the Love Boat, folks.
Yes.
Climb aboard. God's expecting you.
Climb aboard. God's expecting you. The Love Boat. All right, coming up next, today's guest, Inspirational Indiana Fawcett, launches us on the cruise of our lives with today's daily word, freedom. Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. All right, everybody, welcome back to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Today's episode is called Climb Aboard the Love Boat, with none other than Indiana Fawcett, the owner, the founder of CHOBO Studios.
Yes.
CHOBOstudios.com if you want to book your show here. It's amazing. We'll talk to him in a minute. We have some great readings about climbing aboard the Love Boat, how to do it, because you're already on it, by the way.
There's 2 great readings we got that actually help you to apply this in any situation during your day. How to instantaneously climb off the dock of reason and onto the love boat.
You know, I just had an idea. You want to trick yourself into doing your daily routine, morning routine?
Yes.
Just buy the books, put them on your table when you're eating breakfast. Read them while you're eating breakfast. It'll be the gateway drug because they feel so good. I just don't want you to miss out on how good we feel when we read these books. So.
Yeah, you do this for 30 days, you're going to love the way you look.
Oh, my God. It's better than Botox.
It sure is. I've had people tell me that.
It's better than Frank's wig guy.
Now, are you ready? No, you mean rug doctor?
The rug doctor.
We're not talking
Hollywood's
about the one.
finest rug doctor.
Yeah, we're not talking about the one on the floor.
No.
So this is from Marianne Williamson, A Year of Miracles. This is on our reading list.
She's a big fan of the Course in Miracles, a student of it. She ran for president, for crying out loud.
Yes, she did. And this is a great way to climb aboard the love boat wherever you are at any moment during your day.
Instead of a gateway drug, it's a great way drug.
Yes.
All right.
It doesn't matter whether you're in the mood to be gracious to the bank teller today. Do it anyway.
Ooh.
And watch how it begins to affect your mood.
Yes.
Just push the button of the self you wish to be, and the synapses that make up that personality begin to form.
Yes.
And in the words of George Eliot, it's never too late to be what you might have been.
That's so true.
It's also never too late to become who we really are.
You know what? Take that in, because that was one of the things that almost drove me to the nut house, was that feeling of dread that I could never be myself while I'm here. That it was too late. I mean, I think I started thinking it was too late when I was when I was in 6th grade, I thought it was too late for me to try to play on the basketball team because obviously they've been playing for
Yes.
like those type of thoughts.
I had those thoughts. It's
Yeah.
too late for me to learn to play the guitar at 12.
Exactly.
No,
And it's still not true. I don't
It's
care how
still
old
not
you are.
true.
Because it's just you being you. The moment we open the gates, the floodgates of who we are will come flooding in, and it's amazing.
and who we really are is the generous and kind person. But let me
Healthy,
repeat.
happy, and loved.
I'm going to
Love
repeat
it.
what George Eliot said
Yeah,
again.
let's hear it.
It's such a good thing to get planted in your subconscious. Is this? It is never too late to be what you might have been.
Yes.
And this is from a book called The Sermon on the Mount, which I highly recommend, by Emmett Fox. It's the key to success in life. That's the
Yes.
Sermon on the Mount. You read 2 pages of this a night before you go to bed. This is another game changer.
Yes.
And in this book, he goes through the Sermon on the Mount that Jesus taught,
Right.
and it ends with the Lord's Prayer. And this particular chapter is the verse, forgive us our trespasses.
Right.
But here's the best part. He sums it up like this, and it's a great way for us to practice it that will release us from any tension or struggle and allow us to effortlessly climb aboard the love boat.
Yes.
It's on page 176 if you have the book. Everybody should practice general forgiveness every day as a matter of course. When you say your daily prayers, issue a general amnesty, forgiving everyone who may have injured you in any way, and on no account particularize. So as like a king who reigns over his kingdom,
Yes.
grant general amnesty to everybody. Simply say, I freely forgive everyone. You don't have to be specific. That's what's great about prayer, is I freely forgive everyone. Then in the course of the day, should the thought of grievance or resentment come up, bless the offender briefly and dismiss the thought. Bless and dismiss. The result of this policy will be that very soon you will find yourself cleared of all resentment and condemnation, and the effect upon your happiness, your bodily health, and your general life will be nothing less than revolutionary.
Yeah. I like what you said, resent. It's like someone sent you a crappy letter. Don't resend it.
Yes.
Just rip it up. Be done with it.
Yes,
Catherine, yeah.
that's a great way.
I was
yeah.
thinking about that the other night. I was like, where did that word come from? Now everyone's like resentment, but it's really
It
like
resent. It means don't relive and like you said,
Yeah.
don't resend it out there.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be a repeat offender, as you once said.
Yes.
And Catherine Ponder has a great affirmation that I say every day, which is all that has offended me, I forgive. Within and without, I forgive.
Yes.
Things past, present, and future, I forgive.
Yes.
I forgive everything and everybody that could possibly need forgiveness of the past or the present, here and now. And I add also, I forgive myself for judging all that has offended me. I forgive myself for judging it. And I forgive myself for judging everything and everybody, including myself, that could possibly need forgiveness of the past or the present.
Wait,
all things are cleared up between us, here and now.
I should just read this because you brought up a good point.
Let us hear it. I know this is why forgiveness works.
Yes, this is from A Course in Miracles, and Ed and I have been talking about these particular verses in here I came across this past week.
Yes.
And I think we mentioned them or referred to them during the last episode
Right.
briefly. But here it is. When you realize, I'm just going to give the short form, realize that all guilt is solely an invention of your mind. But it also means that nothing outside yourself can hurt you or disturb your peace or upset you in any way. And remember this, folks, each grievance you hold is a declaration, an assertion in which you believe that says, if this were different, I would be saved.
Yeah. I mean,
But it's all in here.
It's kind of amazing that human beings are like, we've invented this thing called grievances and resentment toward one another. And it's almost like we've all learned to have like a little tablet we carry inside our pocket where he did this, he did that, but it's the only place it's not principle. It's not there's no other God or anything outside that's actually gives to what's about that
and
thing.
it only hurts us.
Yeah,
it's holding us back from our highest.
Yeah, we become like miserly little. I wrote it down. Yeah, let me write that down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you want to see what Darrell's face is doing right now, go to our YouTube page or go to our Facebook page. You can watch the YouTube video. But that brings us to thanking our listeners. And actually, Penny Akashi, who we mentioned earlier, who was at the Unity of the West Side talk we gave this morning, was wondering, how do I give a one-time contribution? And we do have a P.O. Box, which is funniest thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. We love getting letters. Actually, we have a letter right here from none other than Mary Weir from Bastrop, Texas. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
But this is the letter that was like reassurance that Ed and I don't need to get into the publicity or social media game. We just need to continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and we love getting this stuff, man. She sent us a bumper sticker, which she created, which says, to create a better world, first imagine a brighter future. If you go on our Facebook, on our YouTube video, to see the YouTube video, you can see what she sent us. We got a great book called A Dot That Fell Into a Blot by Mary Weir. She made this book, sent it to us, which is really inspirational about really like letting go of the story and going for the adventure.
Yes.
Getting on the Love Boat. No matter what it looks like, just call it the Love Boat and jump on board, and you'll be surprised how everything works out in your favor. And the letter. Dear Darrell and Ed, I just do not want to take you for granted anymore. I love your show. When I'm down or just cleaning the house, I'll think I need a dose of Darrell and Ed. Thank you for all your positive inspiration. Thank you for all the stories about your fears and doubts and what happens when you step out boldly. I listen to you from Bastrop, Texas, just for fun. I have enclosed a bumper sticker that I have made and a little book I had published, the only book so far. There is also a donation. Love, Mary Weir. We thank you for that, Mary Weir.
Yes,
it's amazing.
thank you. And the timing was impeccable.
Yeah, really, when we let go of resentment, even if it admits it first just acknowledge stop trying to make the resentment into something serious or something that, this is real. Like, admit the full outlandishness of whatever it is you're fearing.
I was going to say, you're saying that, it made me think of Christina Robom's message.
So Christina Robom from Utah sent us this, a voice message on our Facebook fan page or listener page mailbox. Should we listen?
Yeah, this is like having a live caller.
If we were not in CHOBO Studios,
we couldn't do this.
No, so here we go. Let's see.
Hey guys. So I started going to ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, and I know you guys know 12 steps and stuff. And it has been enlightening and been mind-blowing. And one of the things I discovered is that I haven't let myself feel my feelings. That by, just like always switching to a better thought, I'm not really acknowledging that I am scared or that there is a part of me being like, hey. So like now learning this balancing act of being a loving parent to myself and trusting a higher power, to feel those feelings and acknowledge them and go, I hear you, honey, I love you. But also somehow not like be debilitated by it. And the way this sums up perfectly, I've decided is that, so I used to think like if I don't change my mind and feel better, bad things are going to happen. I'm going to attract all the worst. So I just thought of your intro, like, what is it, Mr. Magoo blindly stepping onto the next swinging girder and falling into an outrageous jackpot. like I don't have to be in control of this. I don't have to be micromanaging my vibrations or my feelings. Like my higher power loves me so much that I could just blindly step onto the next swinging girder and fall into an outrageous jackpot, believing that even if I feel like shit, scared, confused, lost, angry, that my higher power is still delivering miracles.
Yes.
So that's a little spin that I've been doing lately, and that imagery from your intro was spot on. Thanks, guys.
Wow. I forgot we weren't talking to her for a minute. I was thinking she was here. I love do you hear Jesus, on a motorcycle drive off in the distance in the beginning and then the birds?
Salt Lake City. Where'd you think he'd live?
So if you want to get in on the fun, send us something. The funniest thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. Of course, you can contribute at patreon.com, which is patreon.com/funniest thing for a monthly to become a monthly contributor. You can go to our website, darrellanded.com. It has everything we talk about on the show, access to these different things. We want to thank our other chief engineer, who is still on the funniest thing payroll.
Jeff Comfort.
Yeah, he's out there in Missouri or Kansas, maybe Kansas City.
We got to
area.
confirm that next time we talk to him.
Yeah, we'll find out where he actually is in case you.
Maybe he doesn't want anyone to know.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say in case you want to visit him, but I don't know that he wants our listeners showing up on his lawn. But you never know. Those Missouri and Kansas folks are really friendly.
Yes, they are.
But at any rate,
each week
he takes us
right
into the comfort zone. Yeah. All right. Shout out to the prayer line, a.k.a. Silent Unity, 800-NOW-PRAY, 800-669-7729. They have an app, the letter U, the word pray at the App Store. If you want to climb aboard the Love Boat, you're having a challenge doing so, call the Silent Unity. There's nothing, actually, sometimes it's the best thing you could do. Like Christina Robaum said, this is not about pretending that we don't feel our feelings or that we don't have these thoughts going, but it's realizing that God is loving us all the time, that life is loving us, and that if we can just get off of being controlled by him, and part of that is not hiding them or being ashamed of him either. It's just, but call Silent Unity, 800-669-7729. It's amazing. I did this on the way to work the other day, and it was the quickest Silent Unity prayer I'd ever had. It was almost like God through him knew I just needed a quickie.
Yes.
And boom. He kicked me right up the stairs. He grabbed me by the seat of my pants. He had like an old-time Unity voice. Grabbed me by the seat of my pants and just kicked me up the stairs.
Nice.
Man. It was just what I needed. And then shout out to the Message of Hope. Chico's been hitting us up. I don't have the phone number anymore, Chico. Unity made a bit of a convoluted website.
Yes.
So if anyone has that for Message of Hope, or you can go to outreach at unityonline.org. Outreach at unityonline.org. Message of Hope provides daily word for people in institutions and also in Braille and Spanish. So we do appreciate all of the people out there in in the blind community.
That's right.
Who benefit from
our
Message
show
of Hope and our show. And we appreciate you, Chico. So if anyone has the number for that, he hit us with a long message about this, and it was funny because he speaks the message into on the phone and then wherever he's doing it, and the first thing it said is, "What is the number for the Mexican Pope?" And then I finally figured out he meant Message of Hope.
Nice.
But if anyone has the number for the Mexican Pope,
we'd like that too. We'd love to have him as a guest.
We want to have him as a guest as well. All right, it is time for Daily Word, and today we have none other than the man who sits behind the board.
Yeah, they're probably all wondering. They were dying to meet him.
He built this place stone by stone.
Built this place for rock and roll.
He did, please. And he's out there. You see him. His name is Indy, a.k.a. Indiana Fawcett.
Hey, everybody.
He built this studio on rock and roll.
He sure did. Can we hear your voice a little louder in here for us?
Yeah. I mean, in no way, shape, or form did I build anything. I'm not a construction worker at all or a contractor, but yes, we rent this place.
But then he put the studio together and designed it and everything, he is the man behind that board there that you see his face coming through, and he's going to help us read the daily word. He's going to help us discuss the meaning, because this place is the love boat in a lot of ways. It brings a lot of love to a lot of people. So how you doing, Indy?
Doing well. Excited to be here, and so glad this is called the Love Boat. I feel the same way. I'm just trying to give love out, just trying to help people, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get to it. So today's daily word is freedom. This is recorded on Sunday, May 15th, 2022.
All right.
And it's called "Taking Responsibility for My Life Leads Me to Freedom." Each life has its shares of ups and downs. Like most people, I have felt blessed by my happy experiences and laid low by my more difficult ones. I have used the spiritual tools of forgiveness and gratitude to learn from and move beyond my more painful experiences. This kind of spiritual housekeeping is my key to lasting freedom. By releasing blame and regret over and over again if necessary, I am ensuring that I will not be bound by the past and limited by an outworn image of myself. Life is dynamic, and so am I. My growth is dependent upon my forward movement, and I commit to embracing the freedom that comes from leaving the past behind. With gratitude, I bless the person I was. With faith, I reach unencumbered for the person I am becoming. And from Galatians 5:13, for you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters.
Wow.
Man, it's amazing what happens when we hear someone else read it, isn't it?
Yeah. It basically summed up what we were trying to say in 40 minutes.
Yeah, right. In like a minute 30.
So did anything come up for you, Indy, in the first segment?
Oh my gosh, so much. I have so many notes here.
Oh, let's hear
Great.
it. Let's hear it.
We'll just sit back now.
Yeah, yeah, I'll take the lead here. No, but first of all, thanks for having me on, guys. This is super cool. It's very cool to be producing the show, and kind of like what you guys were saying about trust and what was it trust and effort, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When we had first met, I was working in Culver City before the pandemic in an office, and I had just go to the Starbucks nearby the office, and I ran into Darrell, and I was like, we had met maybe 8 to 10 years prior
When you were just a little boy.
when I was in high school.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
Playing, what were you playing? The drums or guitar?
guitar. Yes.
Yeah, I was playing the guitar in
Yeah.
Jeff Trujillo's garage. That's how I met Indy.
Can I say my mind's blown? Because I forgot that indie is this. I mean,
Yeah.
not totally forgot, but I've totally replaced that because now we know each other in such a different way.
Yeah.
Whoa! So
And it was a coincidence. I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. And he's like, wait a minute.
and he said I was building a podcast studio at one point. He started
Yes.
mentioning that. This
Yeah.
is crazy. Yeah. So go on.
No, yeah. So I had known just by being friends with you guys on Facebook and stuff that you have a podcast and you talk the talk and you walk the walk, baby. With the Unity stuff, not to call it Unity stuff, but sorry to generalize it.
Metaphysical new thought.
There we go,
Yeah.
new thought, baby. Yes. And I was always really interested in producing it, just because I come from a Christian background. My grandpa was a Lutheran pastor, and my family's just pretty spiritual.
Right.
So I was like it's the trust not effort thing, right? Like it's there was maybe months before the pandemic started or whatever where I was like, these guys are producing it in this corner with these mics and they don't look like they're having fun, right? They it looks like they're producing the show and doing the show at the same
Which
time.
is
And I was like, this isn't
100%
fun.
True.
yeah, we were
Right.
doing it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to help them in some way, but like at that point, it just wasn't the right fit,
Right.
or the right time, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So-
nothing was ever said between us either.
Right.
Yeah.
It magically happened at the magical time.
Right.
Yeah.
And just going on with life, and then seeing you guys post more episodes, like, wow, I really wish I could produce their show. Not from a place of self-furthering, but just
Right.
because I'm like, I love this stuff. Who
Right.
better producer would it be?
Right.
Right.
So yeah, it's just so great that I didn't put any effort into getting you guys here, but God got us here.
Yeah.
And it was like no need to push.
Right.
And also I did have a question for you guys, because I am 28 years old.
Right.
And you guys have a little bit of years on me.
Right.
And I was just curious, kind of what the caller was calling about kind of rang true for me too, in that when you're praying for an outcome, or you're praying for, I don't know, some sort of clarity, or whatever it is, and then it's answered with a lesson rather than an answer. You know what I mean? Like say you're praying about something and then something goes bad and something goes wrong, where you can go, well, I prayed for this. Why is this happening now? But it doesn't necessarily, I'm curious to you, it's God's work has yet to be seen yet. Right? So I don't know, could you guys speak on that a little bit? Cause that's where I'm coming from, where it kind of feels like sometimes when I've prayed for not necessarily a certain outcome, but just praying in general for, thanking God for everything I have. And then sometimes it's met with a lesson I'm learning rather than an answer to my prayer, which actually ends up being the answer to my prayer in the long run.
Right.
So I don't know if you guys could just speak to that a little bit.
Well, actually, you just said the perfect answer to what happens. I can give a specific one. A few years ago, we had a home equity line, and it was costing us, several $100s a month, and my budget was changing. So I put in for my in my God box to turn it over, turn over the concern that, if I just, in some wonderful way, $100,000 came in, because that was the equity line, then we wouldn't have this several $100s extra. We'd be free of this. So I put that in there. And about a month later, my tenant at the time called to tell me during a rainstorm our fence had been blown down. And it was going to cost like $2,000 to be repaired. And I didn't want to add more credit. So I go, you know what? I have a CD at the bank. But see, it seems like now, the first thought is, oh, great, more expense, not less.
Right.
Like I'm praying, hopefully, to wipe out 100,000. Now I got another 2,000. So the only way I could do the money without borrowing was to borrow from a CD I had, and take money from a CD, a non-penalty CD we had that you could take money. But you had to go into the bank to get the money. You couldn't just do this with your app or online.
Right.
So that forced me to go to the bank. Well, I'm at the bank dealing with that with one lady at the table, at the desk. She introduces, the new loan officer comes over. And I just introduced myself. Hello, how you doing? Mind you, we were trying to refinance 6 months earlier. That's why I thought we needed the 100,000, because we couldn't refinance because our debt to credit ratio wasn't working at the time. So we couldn't do it. So that gave me the thing, let's pray for 100, like a windfall. Well, he goes, hey, do you want me to run the numbers because the rates have come down on mortgages? And part of it goes, well, no, why bother? Because I already know our income to debt ratio, it's not going to cut it. But I didn't say that. I said, sure, why not? The lady goes, wow, you're always so flexible, because she's known me for some time. I said, wow, well, thank you.
Right.
He runs the numbers. He goes, okay, I'll run the numbers. I'll do everything. I'll let you know. Ironically, unbelievably, not only did credit rates drop considerably lower, our house, we found out, went up a considerable amount in value. And this is right before and during the pandemic.
Right.
And so we qualified. The amount folded into our mortgage rather than having the home equity absorbed that 100,000. So it was like getting the windfall, but lowered our monthly cost, the several $100s per month that I wanted to get rid of on our monthly budget. So it seemed like the worst possible things were happening, but it turned out to be the best. So it's just being able to know, to constantly trust, I wonder what wonderful thing's going to come of this, or all things come together for good, or nothing happens by mistake.
God's never late.
Yep, never give up 5 minutes before the miracle.
Right.
It does come together.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, Ed and I, it wasn't until the thing unraveled with our last studio that I had this thought. Wait a minute, I know Indy from Instagram has been building a podcast studio, but I always thought it was way far out in the boonies, and maybe it'd be, something to consider or not, because it might be a hassle to get to. But all that dissipated, and I thought, well, let me just call Indy and see.
Well, you know what really happened? We go.
Yeah, what was it?
We did the van that one week. We ended up in the van. And then I said, we said, let's just do like a studio tour.
Yes.
And let's try Indy's next week and see if he's available. It's one
that's
show.
What it was, for one show.
And then we're like, then a windfall of, what's it called? Donations started coming into our box.
Yes.
And then we said, dude, we just got enough money. Let's just do it again next week.
Yes.
And then it just kept rolling because it's such a fit. It was like, it became obvious, And go ahead.
And all those hurdles, Indy, that we thought might be getting in the way of doing it here, the drive turned out to be no traffic at all drive.
Right.
We got here quicker than it takes sometimes to drive a mile in Culver City.
Right.
I'm literally not kidding. It takes me over 25 minutes to drive a mile in Culver City during rush hour.
Wow.
So it was quick to drive here because of the time we do it. And we are blown away. We are so happy here.
And you know what what it really comes down to is it becomes that living this way is better for us.
Yes.
It becomes like, what's the alternative? To stop my feet get sick over things, like feel sorry for myself. So that's really the way we're able to keep going, is because this is the best way for, it's like, I don't even have to know how it's unfolding.
Yes.
I don't even have to think it's the best thing in that moment, because
Yes.
once we live this way, there's no other way to live, because it's better for me to continue to be kind. I feel better when I continue to be generous, even if there's doubts and
Yes.
where is it going to come from in the back of my brain. It just leads to better health, better relationships, the ability for me to, instead of, like, it used to be like, oh, months of my life, year with this one problem lingering in the background. Now it's like, no, the goal is to keep living joyously.
Yes.
And then these things
resolve
in amazing ways, and we find out that it was all pushing us toward our good in ways that we could have never known about.
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely. And starting this podcast studio, like, I have a a daytime job, 9 to 6, doing remote work for a media company. So I'm here in the studio doing that work.
Right.
And during the pandemic, my girlfriend and I were just kind of like, we're here all the time. Like, why don't we just do what we love while we can stay here?
Yes.
Not have
Right.
to spend 2 hours driving to work every day.
Right.
There and back. And then, like kind of what you were saying along, I want to keep it along
Yeah.
what you guys were saying about the, fearing loss,
Right.
the fear of loss and the willingness to be honest. Now, the company I worked for at the time in 2020 has now since been purchased by another company who's much bigger and much scarier.
Right.
And signing those onboarding documents, you can't be an owner of an LLC. You can't have more than 1% ownership in any other company other than,
Right.
no, you can't pay, you have to be an employee, not a company person.
Right.
And so that just scared the hell out of me. So that was, fear of losing, fear of, it's just fear.
Yeah.
And then I just reached out to my HR coordinator, and she said, "Oh, this is fine. We'll just go to legal and we'll get a different document drafted up, and you'll sign that, and we'll be good." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So it was just like I was met with the opposite of what I was thinking I was going to be met.
Well,
with.
that's because your willingness to be absolutely honest. That's what the freedom, that's where the freedom comes. Like, that's what, it's amazing. It seems like it's the scariest. And thank God, because I know the rest of the story. Like, you have a wonderful girlfriend, just like I have a wife who wouldn't encourage. She'd go, well, you got to come clean and tell him. And Porter goes, really? But what if this and that? But I'm telling you, every time you just trust.
Yes.
And because it's really the difference between living like from self-protection or living with, complete abandon, like with your arms wide open and say, here I am, God, deal me in.
Yeah.
And isn't it miraculous? Like, the totally unexpected outcome becomes the outcome, like the better than expected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to look over your shoulder. And now you don't have to hide your posts of your studio because my work might see it.
Right.
Like, now you're free.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's great because, like, the wording of it is said company approves said company. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, it validates you as a company.
whoa, like, you guys you approved this. Like, and also it's like, my scheming mind too was like, how could they be upset with me over wanting to grow myself?
Right.
Also, like, I know, Ed, you're a parent. Like, I'm sure being a parent is probably more time inducive than having a side hustle.
Right.
Like, it's not like a side hustle isn't a living being, like, so it's like, which my boss has kids and he's away from work all the time because of of his kids. And I'm not saying don't have kids because, like, but it's just like, it's kind of like what I thought that they would be hating. It doesn't exist. All they want is just like the, conflict of interest to not be there. Like, that's basically it.
Yeah.
So like, oh, no fear.
Yeah, and reading these books really helps because you read stories about people whose mind thought it wasn't going to work and God was still working anyway.
Yes.
We hear ourselves in these books.
Yes.
So, like, you let go of this idea that if you live this spiritual way, you're supposed to never have fears, doubts, or worries. I mean, that's not what the Jesus story of Jesus was. Or, the devil whispered in his ear, tried to, that's just the thoughts so by reading this stuff and then going, oh, wow, I'm just like the person in that story. So it gives further inspiration to keep going with it, because it's like, in the past, I think I would rule myself. I guess I'm not spiritual enough because my mind is going dark or whatever, and it's like, no,
No.
that's all part of it. Working with our mind is
Yes.
what this is all about.
Because the problem, like even Robom, Christina mentioned it. It's the idea of I have to always be happy or I'm failing. That's not the spiritual path. The spiritual path is I'm fearful, but I'm going to course correct. I've made a mistake, but I'm going to be forgiving of myself. It's about going from, you know what I mean? It's about constantly bringing ourselves back.
Redirecting.
Yeah, it's always redirecting.
Realigning.
Realigning. That is the spiritual path.
Now, that's where a lot of people have made out as like hucksters when they pretend that they don't. They're already to a place where they don't even have to apply it. They just, and then they bank off people's fears and their projections, and then you find out something totally different about them later when you find out the truth of who they were. And that's why we love this New Thought movement and this metaphysical writings. And it was just people who acknowledged their humanness and their humanity, and acknowledged that everyone can live this way.
Yes, well, that's
there are
what
no
Jesus
special requirements.
Yeah. Which is what Jesus was trying to say.
Yeah, that's
like everyone
exactly
can
right.
live this way. Come
That's
on,
why
guys.
it wouldn't be worth a darn thing if it wasn't accessible to everybody at every
right.
moment. And it just takes willingness on our part, and to have our minds blown by how much more amazing we are and the people around us are and the world is than anything you're going to hear mostly on the news or anything. Most things you listen to, movies, they'll give you a little glimpse of, there's one big thing that happened, but every day is full of amazing big things.
Yeah.
Speaking of big things, are we going to tell that TMZ story?
Yeah. And want to say anything else before we wrap this up, Indy?
Yeah, just a little bit like what you were saying about, like people showing their true selves and stuff. Like you guys have been aware, like we've been talking off the mics about a client that kind of did us in a interesting way.
Yeah.
I just say it in a positive way. That at the time I was so like I wanted to cast them as the burden in my story. I wanted to put them on the stake.
Right.
I wanted all that stuff, but it's like the second I let go of that, a contract for Red Bull came through.
Wow.
Like the second I let go of that, another contract came. Like we had two contracts right after that. That was like seemingly like this client was a nobody compared to that.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like say people are nobody,
you're hitting
but like
it spot on. You're hitting it.
Because hanging on to that resentment, I'm actually withholding. I'm not open to good coming in. I'm actually. It's not that God's will won't deliver more goodness, but I am definitely like turning my back on it and slowing it down.
Well, because we're arguing with the door that's closed.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's and like what the caller was saying, it's like you have to acknowledge these feelings. Like it's not to completely ignore them. It's to process them, recognize what's happening, and going, this isn't me.
Yes.
Also, like me in the future, looking back at my actions, putting them, casting the burden, doing all that. I'm like, I don't like that guy.
Yes.
Yeah, Alan Cohen this morning in A Deep Breath of Life said, nothing is withheld or taken away from us unless something better is in store. Remember this, and bitterness will fly away forever. And in his story, he was trying to rent a place for his offices, and they thought they had the place, and the real estate agent kept like kind of hemming and hawing. And finally, the real estate agent admitted, well, the owner saw some of the things you write and didn't like it. And at first, he was like stomping his feet. How dare they? This is a civil rights thing or something. Discrimination. But eventually, he heard a voice inside him. No use getting upset. This is all working out on your behalf. And it turned out that right after he let go of that, the perfect place at a much better price opened up from a woman who was like much more aligned with what he saw. So there was no, and it's often the temptation to judge the thing that's not working. Like, I don't know. I'm going through that right now. It's like I've gone through that when my job got switched a couple times. How dare they? I'm the inclusion specialist. Blah, blah, blah. How dare they? I have to move out of this, blah, blah, blah. But then if I look, just open my eyes.
Yes.
Something better's on the way, always.
Always.
All right.
Are you going to hit him with we heard something about Indy.
Yeah, so go to CHOBOstudios.com if you want to book a show in here, or if you know anyone who does. This place is amazing. We love you.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. So anyway,
This is interesting,
This
Indy.
is a cool story.
We heard. We can't disclose who we heard this from, but we definitely heard it.
This is a previous client that I had.
No. We actually got this from, I think, your old elementary school teacher.
But oddly enough, it involves Darrell and Ed.
Yes.
So Darrell and Ed recently saw Indy. This is recent.
Oh.
Darrell and Ed saw Indy outside of CHOBO Studios looking very excited.
Yes, he was on fire, folks.
We asked him, "Hey, Indy, why are you so happy?" Indy replied,
Well, I just told my parents about my dream of being like Steve Harvey, the star of a show.
See, we never knew that Indy really looked up so much to Steve Harvey. So we said, "What'd they say?"
They hated the idea and told me I need to be more realistic to get a real job.
So then we said, "Why in the world, if they said this, they're obviously upset." It was tense, right? Like, they did not agree. They were at odds with it. And so we just said, "So why in the world are you so happy, Indy?"
Well, I'm one step closer to being like Steve Harvey. Today I hosted the Family Feud.
Love it. I wasn't expecting it to go there. Steve Harvey, family. I love that. That's great.
Yeah,
All right.
that's amazing, these stories we
Rick
find.
Ocasek.
What are you doing, Rick? What do you want to say?
Well, I just thought I'd roll down from the clouds above and remind you that this song is a little affirmation to stay in alignment with your greater good.
Yeah, when we're tempted to put our foot on the hose of our good, right? And not
Or
let the good
or
times
listen
roll.
to the news and stuff like that. You got to just turn the other cheek, and you ready, boys?
Let's go.
Let the good times roll. Let them knock you around. Let the good times roll. Let them make you a clown. Let them leave you up in the air. Let them brush your rock and roll hair. Let the good times roll.
Let the
Visit
good times roll.
DarrellandEd.com
Let the good
to find
times
easy
roll.
links to
Indy
everything
Fawcett,
we
we
do.
love you. CHOBOstudios.com. Jeff Comfort.
Let them leave you up in the air. Let them brush your rock and roll hair. Let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. Let the good times roll.
Let 'em roll.